Have you had a similar feeling at the end of other seasons?
Yeah, I have. I felt in the year 04, the 05, I think, year that we went to Detroit, I felt that was the end of my time here with that group of guys, and felt very strongly towards that. And actually, in my meetings, with Mitch and the players, pretty final with what I said with them at that time. But I came back and coached a year later, so it was nice to have that year off and get away from it, and the changes in the team kind of was a dramatic way to come back and enter again and try and coach this team back to the position we've gotten to again. And Kobe sat in the meeting and he said, I just sit and thinking that we've been to 7 championships in 10 years. It's been just unbelievable, and it's hard to imagine. The drought we went through was so sudden and so quick when we fell off the championships back in 04 through 06, that it seems like we fell off the train and got back on somewhere, and now we're in the front of the train heading down the tracks. And this team's in really good shape, going towards another opportunity to win. And if I'm not here, someone else is going to do the job.
You said before that the decision comes down to whether enough's enough. Is that where you're at right now, or?
Yeah.
So how do you determine that? I mean, is it in your heart?
I think it's an inner feeling, that you assess, the price and the, what it takes to do and how much time you have left to live, and to live a life that you want to lead. And also to try and, for myself to get even better health than I'm in now, so that I can lead even better life. So those are all things that I have to weigh as far as making. This career has been wonderful, but making the next one or the next phase in my life as meaningful as this has been.
In the years where you've leaned one way and obviously have come back, what changed your mind and your perspective?
I'm trying to think if I've leaned one way and come back. Last year I was going to assess things, but I felt like I was going to come back last year.
But you'd said that you
I had a
felt you sort
contract.
of-
Yeah, I had a contract, and I always like to fulfill a contract if I'm possibly able to do it, because that's an agreement that you've made with somebody, and it's meaningful. I pretty much, felt my way into what I've done, from the heart standpoint or from the gut standpoint, my whole life.
Would you coach anywhere else?
I'm not going to rule that out, but it just doesn't look like it's, that's an option. But you'd hate to say not, and then you're out a year, or whatever, and all of a sudden everything feels like it'd be fun to do it again. So I can't not say I'd never coach again.
If you did retire, what would you do?
I wish I had that all planned out, but really I couldn't. It would be right to be making plans about another life or another phase of my life and be as intensely involved in what I've done. So, I haven't got that planned out. Write a book, go on a grand lecture tour, those are all things that, people tell me that maybe I should think about doing, Of course, it's something I've will consider. But I think I have, some things to lend to this game. Not doing the intensive travel and the intensive work I've had to do to coach, but perhaps do it in a different way. And I'll wait and see what those opportunities would be.
Does it become easier to make that decision coming off a championship, where there aren't any loose ends, or?
It's hard. This is as hard. I mean, when you win, it looks easy, but when you think about it, when Kobe said we've been there 7 times in the last 10 years, you think about the number of games that you play beyond the regular season, and you figure that it totals up, a couple of seasons. You think about the amount of work that goes into each playoff game and the amount of dealing with you guys and, the referees and the league and, all those issues that come along that are different than just coaching the game and just, the simplification of just, having a ball, having guys out there playing and teaching them the game the right way. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it that clouds it a little bit. Makes it more than just coaching.
Can you talk about how hard it would be to leave a team that's sort of in place? And I mean, you were here when the team wasn't so good, and now it's sort of in place. This team here.
I think it's actually easier. I would be extremely happy if they were able to go on and win without me. I think that'd be a wonderful phase. I think they got enough leadership on the floor, and from the coaching standpoint, they got options to make. But I can't talk about that in reality yet until I make a decision.
So tell the truth, Ron, I just ran you out of here, right? Drove you crazy. That's what you did with that last interview at the end of something, and you figured, no, I can't take any more of this.
No, Ron's not the issue, that's for sure.
So you said a few times throughout the season, especially in the playoffs, that how the players were responding to your message was going to make a key impact, and it seemed that was something that followed all the way through the finals.
Yeah, it had a lot to do with it. To be a coach, you have to be very strong-willed. You have a lot of young men with strong wills, and that's how they got here. That are contentious, and they're trying to all, get to the top of the dog pile. And so it's always, constantly, working with them and trying to, keep them in line and keep them in a position where they're not only in line but also pulling together. So that's one of the things that, makes coaching a wonderful thing to do as a leader, as a coach, that gives you a lot of satisfaction. And this group, there are guys that were contentious, so we had guys that were, looking for more than they could get sometimes out of just playing their roles on this team. So to get them in line and stay in line, the leadership with Kobe and Derek, helped out a lot. And my staff was very good, I thought, this whole year, trying to keep everybody in line because, we have 6 or 7 guys that are, out there without contracts or looking for extended careers in the NBA. And sometimes that breaks through the team spirit and breaks into selfish attitudes about how to get that done for themselves. But fortunately enough, we were able to keep that going in the right direction.
Hey, how solid are you in the direction you're leaning?
I have to sit on it and do the right thing for myself. And I wouldn't say that I'm 95% sure, 50% sure. This is where I feel right now.
Kobe talked just a few minutes ago about how so much of the personality of this team is taken from you. What, in terms of the patience and the demeanor and things like that, what changes if you go? I mean, how does that evolve?
I couldn't imagine, the next person that comes here is going to have this year or the next is going to have a different way of dealing with people, and it's just a different demeanor. And I think that teams eventually will take on that of a coach. Not a lot. Sometimes right away. It takes a while for a coach sometimes to get that through to where players are responding. But this group, they responded very well. They understood when the season was over that the playoffs were something entirely different about this year, and that we'd had a real letdown in the last 2 weeks of the season, and maybe 3, and you were going to have to step it up, and they really did a good job of bringing it all, laying it on the line, and playing with the right type of spirit for those 20-some playoff games that we played.
So you mentioned the distractions of the pro game. Would there be any chance of you coaching on another level of basketball, or be maybe more simplified?
I really don't know about that. I mean, at this age, I really don't think so. I did get a letter from an Oregon trustee up there that asked me to apply in that regard, and that was very nice of him to ask. I just couldn't see the rigors of going back to that step of in the college level.